Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. This is Reverend Sylvester Hampton once again, one man of God unfiltered. Welcome to my channel. Thank you for allowing me to spend this time with you today. Today's lesson is going to be entitled Taking a Second Look at Dad. Taking a second look at Dad. What made me talk about this is that yesterday I was at a meeting and I got in a conversation with a lady, and she was telling me about her husband who was deceased and everything. And it's a funny thing when women talk about their husband, and they always have a tendency of making themselves a hero over their husband. They always tend to make themselves a person that did the most of the struggling, and if it had not been for them, the family would have been doomed, and the husband was just an afterthought. And I find that very, very intriguing, because the husband, for the most part, never gets any credit for the credit that he's due. But that's because of Satan's weapons of mass destruction, which is feminism. Because feminism always tend to put the female equal to the man. And in that, you always, when you put yourself equal to the man, that requires you to circumvent the man's authority and always trying to make yourself over the man. So no matter what he did, it reminds me of an old James Brown song. This is a man's world, but it's nothing without a woman or a girl. That's that simp song that we used to sing back in the day. And we put the woman on the top of the man. We put the woman on the pedestal. You remember Happy Wife, Happy Life, and we were worshiping the woman, and we put her on top, and we made her the most important thing in the world over us. And that's what Satan wants us to do, and that was backwards thinking. And because God never intended for her to be on top of you. She's the helper. You're the one that is on top because you're in God's image. You're in the image of God. So why in the world would God put an image, put anything over his image? Okay? She was made through you as your helper. Her purpose is you, to make your life easier. Okay? She is molded by you. Okay? How in the world can you worship someone that was molded for your purpose? That doesn't make any sense. But what Satan wants you to do is flip things upside down, and that's what was going on. So anytime that she's telling the story about her time with her husband, she's always going to make the story of her telling about her deceased husband. She's always going to make his part in the marriage secondary to her primary part. For an example, I'm a veteran. I'm a military veteran, so I was with a lot of veterans, and I got in a conversation with a military wife, and the military wife was talking about her husband was the only thing he did was he was always out of the house and always gone, and when he was there, the only food that he was feeding the kids and her was mess hall food, and that's it, but when I was and I'm saying to myself, mess hall food, okay. The average man in there knew that if this man was feeding his smuggling mess hall food out, that meant that if he got caught, he would be put in military prison and drummed out of the military. So he was committing a crime feeding his family. So the average man in there, and the only way that he could do that was that he had to hook up. That meant that he worked at the mess hall. And he was feeding his family the best food that the military had to give. The military don't feed their soldiers B-rated food. They feed them A top-notch food, because you have to feed soldiers top-notch food to go out there and kill people, to protect this land. So we're not going to feed them mess. Just because it's called a mess hall, that's not secondary food. That's the top tier food. What kind of food do you think the general and the president of the United States is eating? They're eating the same food that the soldiers are eating. Mess hall food. Mess hall is a term for kitchen. That's a term that we use. It's not. It's a term that we use for eating, where we go to eat. So she was using it as a term of something that was a term that was supposed to be looked down upon, and the food that she was being fed was supposed to be something that was looked down upon. No, her husband was smuggling food out to feed his family, because when people in the military come in, they're at the lowest rank. And you have to work your way up before you can afford a lot of stuff. But most of the men that are into the military, they may have about 2 or 3 children. And they're at the lowest rank and the lowest income. So a man that's have 2 or 3 children right away, they don't have the funds to sustain that many children to feed. So he did the best he know how, and he fed his kids. She always had a roof over her head. She always had clothes on the children's back, and she always had food on the table. Food on the table for them children. And she was married. She was married. Okay? This man took a chance of going to jail every time he smuggled food out to his family. That's what the average man saw and heard. He had to hook up. And he took the chance of going to jail, going to the brig, getting arrested to feed his family. That's what we heard. But she was saying that he was hardly ever home, and then when I asked, well, where are some of the places you've been? Oh, we went to Hawaii, we went to Germany, we went to Europe. Where are you originally from? Oh, we're from Washington, D.C., and all your family in Washington, D.C.? Yeah. Have they ever gone? They just lived and they died in Washington, D.C. But you and your children have been to Hawaii, and you've been to Germany, and you've been to all these places, right? Yes. So those were military brats. I was a military brat. My father was in the Air Force. We've been to places like Germany. We've been to places like Spain, England, Delaware, Georgia, and New Jersey. Those are the places, these are the places that military brats were. We traveled with my father. We were exposed to different people from all over the world. Those military brats are different breed of kids. We don't see color, because we're exposed to different people from all over the world. We rubbed elbows with those kind of people. Black, white, red, yellow people from all over the world. All military brats. We all got along together. Military people are a different breed of people. But when we go home to our relatives who only stayed in one place, we were exposed to people from all over the world, and we went around the whole world. She didn't see that. He made her honorable. He made her a wife, which is the highest honor a man can give to a woman. She didn't see that. When she tells the story, she's told him she didn't put him on the pedestal where he was supposed to be. He took care of his family. When a woman talks about daddy, she always ends up talking down about him and putting the mama on top. And make the mama had to go through a struggle, and if it wasn't for mama, the family wouldn't have made it through. When a woman tells the story. And that's not right. Right now, he's passed on, but she's still living on his legacy. Because she's collecting Social Security, which is higher than what she would have been collecting, and she's collecting his retirement check. 2 checks a month because he was in the military. That's enough money to sustain her from being homeless. So he took care of her even in his death. That's what a man does. A man will ensure that his wife is taken care of in his death. My father made sure that my mother was taken care of even after he died. That's what a man do. But anytime a helper talks about their spouse, for the most part, they always put themselves on a pedestal and put him down. We got to stop that. We got to stop that. Because that's not right. If it was not for the man making her a wife, putting the title of wife upon her, she wouldn't have been, she would have been homeless, and she would have been, and she wouldn't have been sitting up there in the group of among veterans with her chest poked out proudly as being a military wife. That's the highest honor that someone could bestow upon a woman, as a wife. Being engaged don't mean nothing. Don't mean nothing. If you don't have someone getting on his knees and proposing to you, making you his wife, you ain't nothing. Nothing. You're a wannabe. Everybody wants to be a wife because that's honorable. And for God's sake, stop talking down about your husband. That man did everything he could to take care of his family. And that's what a man do. He provide. He's a provider. He's a protector. That's what men do. That's his purpose in life. He has purpose. So let's take a second look at Dad. Stop talking down like as if he was nobody and nothing. Let me give you another example. A lot of times people say, oh, my dad was an alcoholic, he didn't do anything. Let's think a flip side of that. Suppose your dad was an alcoholic. But let me tell you something. A lot of times men have to do things to make sure that their family's taken care of. Suppose he has a boss. And he works for this guy, and the boss he has a terrible marriage. So when he gets home from work, when he gets off of the job, he wants to take his coworker, which is your daddy, with him because that's the only friend he got. So your daddy feels compelled that he needs to go with this guy because if he don't go with the guy, he's going to lose his job. So he wants to get some drinks after work all the time because he damn sure don't have a good home to go to because he can't stand his wife or he's divorced. And he did a terrible job at raising his kids, so his kids can't stand him, so he ain't got nobody else to go to. So he clings on to your daddy. And he says, I want to go to drink. And your daddy knows that if he says no, he ain't going to have no job tomorrow. So your daddy tags along with the guy. And so he drinks and drinks and drinks, and then your daddy, the reason why he takes your dad, because he relies on your dad to take him home before, so he knows he's going to get drunk, and your daddy drives him home. And your daddy do that. So he encouraged your daddy to take a couple of drinks, and so when your daddy comes home, he's exhausted after doing all this work at work, and so he had to babysit this man that's the owner of the store, and he's drinking and he's chasing women because he's lonely, and the only friend he got is his worker. And so your daddy's compelled to stay there. So your dad sits up there and he comes home smelling like alcohol, so you automatically say, oh, he was out drinking after work and he's no good. And say, for example, he may have perfume smelling on him, but he loves his family. He ain't out there chasing no women. He can't go nowhere because if he did, he would lose his job. The only thing he has in mind is putting food on his family's table. And he has to get this job. He has to keep his job. Because if he leaves this man, he's going to put out a poisonous reputation on your dad, and your dad will never get a job anywhere because this man said that he's not a good employee. So he's trapped. Y'all know how it goes. If Mr. Charlie says he's not good to work for and his reputation's poisonous, so he has no choice but to stay with Mr. Charlie because Mr. Charlie controls him. It's about control. So your dad knows that he's got to stay there to feed his family. And all you see is that he leaves early and comes home late smelling like alcohol. But he does bring home the bacon. And the car that he drives is the car that Mr. Charlie, is Mr. Charlie's hand-me-down car. And the only reason Mr. Charlie gave him that car is because Mr. Charlie knows that he needs him to drive him back and forth home, and he needs him to come back and forth to work. So he gives him transportation to get back and forth to work. So it ain't no favor to him, it's a favor to him, to Mr. Charlie, to make sure that his best worker comes to work. It's no favor. So all you see is he got a car, but we can't go on vacation. He goes back and forth to work. But he goes back and forth to work to feed his family. That's what's going on. You don't see the other side. You're not walking a mile in dad's shoes. You don't know what dad's got to do to make sure that his family's fed. Wake up. Wake up. And all you're doing is telling your girlfriend, my man ain't no good. All he does is just go to work, come home, smelling like and chasing women. All he does is go to the club. But the only reason Mr. Charlie have him go to the club and tell him all this stuff and everything is because Mr. Charlie knows that he can tell him anything in his utmost secrets, because who he gonna tell? He don't have to worry about your daddy telling his high society friends about anything. That's the same way as that Miss Susie is telling her maid everything, all her business, and all the men that she run around with, is because she knows that her maid can't tell anybody, because who's going to believe the maid? And her maid's not running in the same circles that she run around in. So she don't have to worry about telling her maid telling anybody. Because if she did, she would get fired. And not get hired by nobody. Because once she says, "Oh, this maid told her my business to society," who gonna hire her? Nobody ain't gonna hire her. Because she told on her own servant, her own boss. She told her boss's business. So she won't get hired. So it behooves her to shut her mouth and continue grinning. She knows that. Same thing. So she don't mind giving you her children's hand-me-downs. So you take them home, and that's what you clothe your kids with. And if you just had a baby and you still producing milk in your breast, you're gonna take your milk that you producing from your breast and feed her kids with your milk. That's her baby, because she don't want to feed her baby her breast milk, because that's her figure. She got to get back down to her figure. So you feed her baby your breast milk, and your baby back home starving. That's how that works. That's how that works. So let's not pretend that it doesn't exist. We got to understand and stop talking down to one another about one another. Walking a mile in daddy's shoes means a lot. You don't know what he had to take care of to make sure to put food on this family's table. He went through a lot of assaults and everything, and sometimes you never know. He was probably raped too. Nobody talking about that. Sexually assaulted. A lot of slaves were sexually assaulted by their employees, men and women. Let's not forget that. Okay? So let's be fair and stop, and Satan loves to put the woman on top of the man. And when she tells the story, she's always the heroine. Always over her man. She's always over the man, and she's always got the family under her and pulling the family up. She always has that. When on her side of the story, if it was not for what she did, the family would have been doomed. That's her side of the story. Her side of the story is that she's always going to have the family and the grips, and she's grabbing the family and taking the family on under her power. And she's taking the family and grabbing the man and grabbing the man too and pulling him up too. That's her side of the story. Always. She never gives credit to the man. When I told you that the first step to blessings, obtaining blessings, is reverence. When you don't reverence God, you can't get blessings. So when God says that you will follow the man as he follows me, when you don't follow the man and you put yourself over the man, God can't bless that. He already told you he ain't gonna bless it. So a lot of the blessings you have overlooked is because you don't reverence your man. You're out of line. You're a triple O woman. Out of order woman, triple O woman. Out of order. And you can't reap the benefits. You stole the kids from the daddy. You can't reap the benefits. It's impossible. Because God already told you he ain't gonna give you no credit. He can't bless you. He ain't talking to you anyway. That's out of order. He don't talk to you. He talks through the man to you. And if you don't reverence your husband, when a man finds a wife, he finds a good thing. All the blessings come through the man. I don't care how it hurts you. I don't care. It wouldn't hurt your feelings at all if you were raised by and trained by your daddy. That feminist crap got you messed up. That feminist crap got you gonna stay single for the rest of your life. Women keep other women single. Period. It's a known fact. So, men, when a woman talks about, and you don't understand women, when you talk about your deceased husband, men are listening. Men are listening. And if you talk bad about him, those men are saying, oh, hell no, I'm not going to, she may look pretty, but I'm not going to mess with her. Because if she talks down to him, if she don't respect him, she ain't going to respect me. Because in your conversation, it will tell what kind of wife you truly are and what kind of wife you will be. Your mouth will determine and give an indication to any man out there what kind of person you truly are. And then you wonder, why nobody approaching me? Because of you, your mouth, and how you did your other husband. Your husband. How you talk about your husband it will determine how you are. It will determine your heart. And you don't even realize that. Men know it. Men know it. You're unappreciated. And we're not going to be loyal to no woman that's not going to be loyal to us. So, that's just the way it is. I remember when I was married and I went out and I got a Valentine's gift. And I thought I was doing a good thing. I bought the wife a Valentine's present, and it was a bracelet and ring and a necklace set from I think it was from K Jewelers, a top-notch jeweler. And I brought it home, and it was advertised as a chocolate diamond. And I brought it to the wife and said, happy Valentine's Day. She looked at that and she says, where you get this from? I said, K Jewelers. I said, it's a chocolate diamond. She says, what? How much did you pay for this? I told her. She says, oh, you got ripped off. I'm going to take this thing back. And she went back to the jewelers. And she chewed the woman out and got my money back. And I was so embarrassed. I said, I will never, ever, 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 ever buy jewelry for you again. And I never did. That was total messed up. Here I am thinking that I'm doing something out of the goodness of my heart, giving it to her, and she turned it all upside down. That's the moral of the story is, men, that women, for the most part, they don't look at the gift itself, she said, "Oh, you know, this is a zirconium. There's no such thing as a chocolate diamond." And I'm saying to myself, I don't know. I don't know anything about no diamond. I don't know nothing about 14 carats. I don't know nothing about no jewelry. That's not my forte. I don't know nothing about that. All I know is that out of the goodness of my heart, I wanted to give you something, and I thought I was doing something good. And she turned it all upside down. Women and I was talking to another guy who's in the clothing business, which means that his is his business. He can go get clothing for the price that businessmen can get clothing for. So the stuff that you're paying for in the store, say for example, I was in the clothing business. And the Gucci sweaters, I told you before, Gucci sweaters, I could get a Gucci sweater that the average, the person, those sweaters were $300. $300 sweater. A Gucci sweater, $300 in Washington, D.C. That was the average cost of a Gucci sweater. But I can go to the wholesale place and the businessman, those sweaters are only be anywhere between $25 to $30 a piece. So what you do is you pay for $25 to $30 a piece, and you get a label that has Gucci on it, and you pay for the Gucci label, and you get the label Gucci sewn in. You may pay maybe $12 for 100 labels that has Gucci in it, and you get someone that seamster or you sew Gucci in the sweater, and that a $20 sweater that you bought, you could go and you pay, and you put that Gucci tag in it, and you paid for $300. Well, I went to the store. I sold the Gucci thing in there. And no, I didn't pay for because I wanted to be fair. I didn't put the label on. I tried to sell the sweater, the Gucci sweater, as is, without that. And I said, well, I only pay $25 for the Gucci sweater, so let's just go up 3 times and I put $75 on the sweater. I put $75 on the sweater, and the person looked at the sweater and said, I ain't paying, that's a knockoff sweater. I ain't paying no $75 for this. That's fake. It wasn't until I put the label on it, and put $300 on it that I couldn't keep those sweaters in there. You see how gullible we are? The same sweater. A label that says Gucci and a $300 price tag. I couldn't keep them in the store. We're so doggone gullible. That's how women are. When it comes time for paying for something, this guy, he knew how much things truly were. He will get his wife the top-notch stuff that she wants, the top-notch pocketbook, and that everyone's getting the Coach bag. The Coach bag probably doesn't even cost as much as they put it on there. And the counterfeit country in the whole world is Korea. So Korea would always go get the authentic thing, and they mass produce that authentic thing, and then they send it back to the States, and all these businessmen buy the knockoffs. And they sell it to you as authentic, and that's how it goes. So here you are, a wife of the man that knows how much things are truly cost. His wife was not accuse him of always buying things on sale, and she wants him to buy things at regular price, buy her a gift at regular price, when she knows that at regular price he's being ripped off. He knows how much it actually is, but she's not pleased because he don't buy it at regular price. You see how stupid that is? That's silly. That's the reason why the filter of foolishness. It don't make sense. But you see, James Brown, this is a man's world, but you talking about it's nothing without a woman or a girl. Please, James, that's a simp song, a beta man song. Happy life, happy wife. That's a beta mentality. No, that's not right. Men, get back on your pedestal where God put you. He gave you dominion. She's your helper. She's not supposed to be over you. And for God's sake, men, whenever you're having a conversation among men and a woman drift in the company and you may say a word, a cuss word or something like that, and you look around and the woman's there and you say, oh, excuse me. You don't have to say excuse me. She ain't got no business there in the first place. And whoever brought her is supposed to say, look at her and say, you in the midst of men, get the hell out of here. Unexcuse you. He has to train her not to be in the midst of men's company in the first place. He's supposed to train her that way. And if she had a daddy, her daddy would have trained her, you don't be in the midst of no man's company. When there's a lot of men, 2 or 3 of men getting together, you ain't got no business being in the company of men. And the thing about it is, I'm getting a lot of pushback from women who listen to my conversation to the men conversation, and getting angry at what I'm saying. I don't apologize because the conversation ain't supposed to be for them in the first place. I never apologize because I'm talking to men. It's man conversation. A daddy is supposed to train his daughter that when men get together, you ain't supposed to be there. Men, when you have a wife, you've already trained your wife, her father already trained her that when men get together, she don't need to be there. She needs to get out of the conversation and then dare not say nothing. She needs to get her butt out of there. Go to another room. All her father has to do is look at her. Don't have to say a thing. Look. And she can read her daddy's look. And say, why the hell are you here? You see me? You see these men are here. That's what her daddy's look tells her. You see these men are here. I raise you better. Get the hell out of here. You know you're in the wrong place. Get your butt out of here. And you better not say anything. Get out of here. That's just like when you have children and your children don't butt in grown people conversation. Same thing. You have trained your children up. You saying the same thing. Train them up. A man should never, ever be in the position, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say that. Oh, you shouldn't, you don't have to apologize. She ain't got no business being there in the first place. Who brought her? Who's the man who brought this? Man, you better check your woman. What the hell is she being here for? Check her. Oh, then you gotta go. If you can't check her, she got to be here with you. You got to go. When you know how to raise, train your woman right, you got to go. You ain't part of this. You a simp. Get out of here. We don't have time for simps. We'll put him in his place quickly. We don't have any problems with that. Man, you can't check your woman. You got to go. We know what kind of man you are. You ain't hanging with us. This group right here is for men only. We don't need no simps. You got to go. You take you and your woman with you. That's how we handle that in this group. Iron sharpens iron. We ain't got time to pussyfoot around. And we ain't going to change our tone of voice. Because the tone of voice that God gave us is when we talk, everybody hears us. Everybody. When God talked, he spoke the world into existence. When a man talks and opens up his mouth, everybody pays attention. That's how God intended. You're in the image of God. You don't have no timid voice. Amen. That's the way it goes. So, taking a second look at Dad. When a woman talks about the father, her father, or a woman talks about her husband, pay attention, because she will always put herself on the top and make her husband or her daddy secondary. The wife, to make herself or her mother the primary hero of the family. That's feminism. Watch that. Amen. I want you to know that I'm still going to be on the battlefield and fighting for the souls of our family. And I love you. Nothing you can do about it. Remember to thumbs up button, to subscribe, and also to hit the notification bell, and to share the channel with someone. And I will be ever so pleased to you. And I want you to know I love you. Nothing you can do about it. Until the next time, this is Reverend Sylvester Hampton, one man of God unfiltered. When the Holy Spirit gives me something, I'm going to give it right back to you just as he gives to me. Amen. Till the next time. Love you. Bye-bye.